The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Executive Committee will now begin.
Good morning and welcome to the regularly scheduled Executive Committee meeting. The date is October 6, 2020. I'm Jacob Fry. I am the chair of this committee. And as we begin, I'll note for the record that this meeting has remote participation by committee members and city staff as authorized under Minnesota statute section 13D.021 due to the declared local public health emergency. And at this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll to reflect that we have a quorum for this meeting.
Councilmember Gordon.
Here.
Jenkins.
Present.
Johnson.
Here.
Bender.
Here.
Mayor Fry.
Here.
There are 5 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum and can therefore proceed with the business before us today. Colleagues, our agenda is before us, and I'll move adoption of this agenda as presented. Is there any discussion on or amendments to this agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Mayor Fry.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
That carries and the agenda is adopted. Next, we have acceptance of the minutes from our regular meeting on September 22nd, and I'll move acceptance of those minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Mayor Fry.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
That motion carries. And moving on to item number 3 on today's agenda, which is an update from the Human Resources Department regarding waivers granted since the implementation of the city's hiring freeze. And this is a report scheduled to be received at every executive committee meeting while the hiring freeze is in effect. And so I'll recognize Deb Kruger from the city's Human Resources Department to give the update. Ms. Kruger.
Thank you, Mayor Fry. Council members, my name is Deb Kruger from the Human Resources Department, here this morning to report an update on the hiring freeze waiver process since the last report on September 22nd. Thank you so much for putting that up on the screen. As just a reminder, we've had the hiring freeze on since March 31st. And so the waivers that I will be going through today will be through waivers that have been completely processed and finalized through September 2nd. There have been a total of 77 waivers received, which is an increase of 3 from the report given on September 22nd. Of those 77, 59 have been approved. Those 3 waivers that are new were all approved, so that increases the number to 59. 7 partial approvals where the department was granted less than what they asked for. And, oh, I'm sorry, I can't see the bottom of the screen. And 11 have been denied. And then on page 2 of the waiver report, thank you, is the breakdown by city department, those who have requested waivers to hiring, how many have been of those waivers have been approved, how many total hires that have encompassed, the cost of those hires, and then the breakdown of all those hires, how many have been for permanent city positions as compared to seasonal, temporary details, that sort of thing. So we have a total of 77 waivers that have gone through, again 66 that have been approved. Encompassing that 30, just shy of 3550 positions. By far the majority of those have been for seasonal hires and elections, capital construction projects over the summer in public works, paid and unpaid internships over the summer, for about $11 million through grant funding, capital construction projects, elections, that sort of thing. And then of the 3,500 positions, about 70 have been for permanent city positions, replacements for vacancies, encompassing about $4.7 million on an annual basis. Of the 3 new positions that were granted since the last update on September 22nd, pull up my notes, so sorry. So three additional waivers were submitted and approved since the last update, for a total of 30.5 positions, 10 of which were permanent positions. Of those 3, 1 was for the health department to hire temporary contact tracers for COVID-19, and it's being paid through CARES Act funding. 1 waiver was for a finance manager who's responsible for capital project accounting, which is general funded, and that one was approved, and that is a permanent hire. And then 9.5 custodians in finance property services, a combination of hires which will be new positions for new facilities, the new service center, as well as vacancy replacements, as they've had quite an increase in cleaning schedules with cleaning services for the pandemic, and that's all paid through the internal service fund. We with the modified budget being approved, and thinking about hiring waivers and the savings through not hiring in 2020, there were 275 vacancies on June 1st, which we were sort of using as a baseline to see how effective the hiring freeze waiver process is with personnel savings. And again, so that we started with that sort of baseline of 275. We've approved 70.5 to be filled. Since that June 1st sort of timeline in which we broke off vacant positions, we've had an additional 107 employees separate from the city. So roughly we're sitting at about 311 vacancies to date. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions or comments.
Thank you, Ms. Kruger. Any questions for Ms. Kruger? Any questions? Council President Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make a quick comment that as I've been reviewing the hiring waivers recently, I have been doing it from the lens of this long, complicated discussion we're having about how to staff the transforming public safety and public safety community engagement process that we have all committed the city to, and that our constituents are really quite desperate to begin so that they can find a way to give us feedback and express their concerns and hopes and all of the things that we are hearing, I'm sure, in the mayor's office as well, in council offices. Every time we have any kind of meeting, it is 100% about public safety right now. So I think we are 98% to a solution that the mayor supports, that I am enthusiastic about, that the chair and vice chair of the committee are supportive. We do still need to get final confirmation from staff that we won't have any issues. This is probably solution number 20 that we have pursued, and in the past there has always been some barrier or problem or complication. So I just want to make sure that we have that all in place. In many conversations, particularly with the city coordinator, I've heard that we need to reprioritize staff time in order to accomplish staffing for this effort. So I have held off on approving hiring waivers so that we can make sure that we have the capacity that we need. So for example, I know that right now we have 3 planners in CPAD working on homeless encampments and homelessness. I absolutely support and want us to have an FTE dedicated only to that. But if we have to reprioritize that position in order to accomplish the public safety work, as an example, that might be something we need to do. So just in the context of, again, every conversation I've had has come down to the need to reprioritize staff time in order to accomplish community engagement for public safety. I will just hold off on approving the hiring waivers until we are 100% sure we have a solution after now 5 weeks of my personal time working toward getting to a solution after a couple of months of other council members I know working on this as well. So I just want to thank everyone who's working on this. I know HR is now involved and talking with the chair and myself and my staff. as well as the mayor's office and others working to get to a solution here. I'm very confident that we can solve this problem together and then just be able to keep moving on with all of the things that we have in front of us. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Fry. And I guess, Ms. Kruger, I'm just curious if there's a way that we can disaggregate some of the waivers by race. Do we have a sense of who is being hired, who is being denied? And I know you mentioned that many of these are temporary and/or seasonal positions, but I still hope that we can understand who is being brought on in this environment and who is being denied.
Mayor Fry, Council Vice President Jenkins. Sorry, I'm hesitating for a second. Yes, I absolutely can provide who's being hired, sort of a summarized version, by race and gender. Absolutely, I can. It will be difficult for positions that don't go through the centralized hiring process in HR. It would be difficult to summarize who didn't get the job. For instance, in the seasonal, either in the seasonal and unpaid internships, there hasn't been a full selection and hiring process. So I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not sure that I can get you who didn't get the job. I can tell you who did get the job. Where I can give a breakdown in terms of qualified applicants for those, particularly those permanent positions at the city, those 70 that were filled, those that have been filled. I absolutely can give a summarized statement of sort of the qualified candidate pool by race and gender, in addition to who was hired.
Thank you, Ms. Kruger. And I think, the who is being hired is probably the biggest priority, and that's the most accessible information. But that would be helpful if those reports can come in the next update. Thank you.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Thank you, Ms. Kruger. Seeing no further discussion, I'll direct the clerk to file that report. And with that, we've concluded the discussion item on our agenda, and we will proceed to item number 4, which is a potential closed session regarding a collective bargaining agreement with IBEW electricians. And I'll ask that the city attorney, do we explain here what that the meeting should be closed, or I think we probably will wait on that, the explanation.
Mayor Fry, the city attorney can explain the reason now in public before
Okay.
we go into closed session.
Great.
Great. Mayor Fry, the next item on the agenda, as you said, is consideration of strategy for labor negotiations. Consideration of negotiation strategies or discussion and review of labor negotiation proposals may be held in a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statutes Section 13D.03. In order to close the meeting to the public, a majority of the committee must vote to close the meeting. In deciding whether to close a meeting for labor negotiation strategy, the committee should weigh the right of the public to know what its government is doing against the need of the city to reserve the confidentiality of its labor negotiation strategy.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney Router. I will then move that this meeting be closed pursuant to the open meeting law, Minnesota Statute, Section 13D.03, to discuss labor negotiation strategies involving the IBEW electricians. Is there any discussion on the motion to close? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Mayor Fry.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
That motion passes, and we will proceed to the closed session. Thank you.
So council members, just log out of this event and log into your closed session Teams event, and we can get started as soon as everybody's there.
Mr. Clerk, are we good to go? Hello, my name is Jacob Fry, and I'm the chair of the Executive Committee. We have just concluded our closed session, and I will reconvene this meeting of October 6th and ask the clerk to call the roll so that we can verify that a quorum is present.
Councilmember Gordon,
Here.
Jenkins,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Bender, Mayor Fry.
Here,
There are 4 members present.
let the record reflect that we have a quorum. And I will go ahead and move approval of item number 4, which is a collective bargaining agreement with IBEW electricians. Is there any discussion? I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember
Mr. Mayor.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Could I quick just say a word?
Mr. Andrew Johnson, Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was typing really fast to try to get into queue, but I just really want to express appreciation for IBEW and our staff for working to get to this outcome. I know, we're have restrictions on what we can say because of closed door sessions from past instances of this, and I think, there was frustration on IBEW's part and frustration on policymakers' part in not being able to move forward sooner with a contract. I'm just glad we're here today and able to move forward with this. I fully support it, and just really want to express appreciation for everyone working together to get to this outcome today, because we want to see this taken care of for our very valued employees as part of our city's workforce, and we just really appreciate all the efforts going into this today.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson, and agreed. Really appreciate both IBEW and our staff in coming to this point. Any further discussion? I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon,
Aye.
Jenkins,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Bender,
Aye.
Mayor Fry.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
That motion passes and the agreement will be referred to the City Council. And with that, we have completed all the items on our agenda this morning, and with no further business before us, I'll declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.